So Khabib Gaethje. Okay, so I am actually a humongous Justin Gaethje
All
fan.
right, good. I'm pulling for him
I
too.
I met him a couple of weeks
Oh,
ago
did
at the
you?
Lake. Yes, I did at the Lakewood Home Depot, and I told him what a fan I was. But
Sick.
so, like I told you, my girlfriend, her father was an Olympic wrestler. He had three sons who were all also amazing wrestlers, and his oldest son was a Colorado state champ and went to University of Northern Colorado
Okay.
with Justin Gaethje.
Oh, wow.
And so
So her family all tosses you around, or you don't know?
oh yeah, for real. So uh, they have three younger sons.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you, but I am actually training for an amateur MMA fight myself.
Are you? I know you used to, but with the neck and everything, the neck's good.
The neck is bad, but I am training. So I
Are you?
train down at Coconut Creek Top Team,
Yeah, I remember.
and then when I moved out here, I was like, yeah,
Am I
it's
gonna get to
probably
see a video
close.
of this?
Yeah, yeah. You want
All
to
right.
you want me to send me a video? I'm hitting really hard right
Oh,
now, and I'm
no.
wrestling
I
good.
mean, I want to see your fight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fuck yeah,
I,
dude.
I will
I have to
definitely.
see that. All right, I'm
I'll
jumping. So,
invite you. You can be courtside
so
if
you're
you want. I
training
might get
legit.
my ass beat.
Who are
Who
you
knows?
fighting, dude?
I don't know. It has to be someone within 2 wins of my record, which
Which
is 0-0.
so
I have
also an
no,
amateur with no fights. You don't know who
I
you're
have
getting.
no, exactly. I have no pro fights, but
Do you weigh
there's no
in?
age. There's no fucking
So he
age.
could be like 20.
He could be 20 coming straight out of wrestling practice to come and beat my
Right,
ass.
right. Is there a
So
weight?
that,
Are your weight class at least?
well, right now I'm 192,
Okay.
but
Right, but I mean, can you just some dude comes in 240 or you don't know?
oh no, no, we're fighting at a weight. I'm
Okay,
fighting at
okay.
170. I'm not
Oh, you're
fighting
cutting? Are
somebody.
you gonna cut?
I am gonna cut.
You're
So
gonna
I
do
got
like a real
John.
cut?
Yeah, I'm doing a cut.
You're
I'm
not
not doing
messing
this. I'm
around,
fat
bro.
right now. Yeah,
But I mean,
I'm
are you
fat.
gonna like walk around at a heavier weight and then like cut like the day before the fight and then rehydrate and do all the real shit?
No, I would like to get lower than I am right now. So
Yeah.
right now, like I said, I'm 192, 193, and I'm training. But John, he's just like, I mean, he's like 50 something years old, and he for real manhandles me.
Oh yeah.
I'm 6'1", 190, and this is a grown man that, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he could beat me with like one arm.
Yeah, it doesn't go away. That type of
Yeah, I mean, he's just a fucking animal. So he helps me with
what
the
ounce gloves
wrestling.
are you wearing?
What's that?
How big what kind of gloves you got? 8 ounce? What are they?
4 ounce
4 ounce?
gloves.
It's legit.
That's it. 4 ounce gloves. It's all legit.
So you
Anything
don't know
goes.
what you're not gonna know anything about your opponent until you step in the ring, the cage that day.
No, I'll know once it's signed. So it has
Okay.
to be cleared by a Colorado commission.
Okay,
I
okay.
have to get opponent that's within 2 wins. And, I have John in my corner, so he knows all the MMA and wrestler guys around.
Right.
He's not going to let me go in there with some kid that's
Right.
fucking,
Some killer,
some animal.
some golden gloves
So,
boxing champ.
yeah, exactly. Which he is also and helps me out. And,
Right.
I have some talent. I'm okay, but,
That's
I'm
awesome,
not
dude.
about to go in there with Gagey or Khabib.
Yeah.
But so for my picks for Gagey and Khabib, I think Gagey is going to win that
I
fight.
think so too. He's built for that fight.
Yeah, he's built for that fight. I think he'll win that fight, and then I think uh, which is a huge shock and
I
upset, by
mean,
the way. I mean, Gagey beating Ferguson
Khabib's
was
never
a huge
lost.
shock. Yeah, Khabib has
Khabib's
has never lost,
undefeated.
but he's never been kicked in the leg, and he has a very particular style of takedown, which I think Justin is particularly suited for. So Khabib shoots a single or a double, but he doesn't look to get you down in the center of the cage. He looks for the fence, right? So he mashes you on the fence, and he works his single and his double. Well, Gagey has been training with Trevor Whitman in
Yeah.
Colorado here
Yeah.
with Usman.
Mm-hmm.
and Usman is actually a master of defense. I mean, I think you just
They
saw it
use
with
that height and
Jorge
they put the
Masvidal.
weight down on
Uh,
them.
he could just he could just stick you on the fence and
Yeah.
keep you there and kind of drain you. Well, Gaethje, I think he'll land some really hard leg kicks that will stop Khabib's takedowns, and he's going to have to box Justin. And I think Justin's boxing is
Gonna hurt him.
quite a bit better than Khabib's.
What I
And
noticed.
then I think he'll fight McGregor and lose.
You think Gaethje will lose to Connor?
Yeah,
Wow. Just stylistically, it's not the good matchup. I feel
not a
like
good matchup. I think Khabib will smoke Connor again, and then
anyone with good wrestling,
that's what Connor's waiting for.
anyone with good wrestling and discipline is gonna smoke Connor. No, seriously. I mean, even Mendez
No,
and
he's beating wrestlers, man.
he beat
There
like
has to be
Chad
a certain time.
Mendez,
He
who
beat Chad
gassed.
Mendes
Yeah, Mendez dominated the whole fight and then gassed and got knocked
for a
out.
round
That's why I said with
in a
discipline.
short notice. In a
Here's
short
my
notice,
thing about Khabib. I see him actually in the fights I've watched. I actually see him getting a little tired,
he does get tired.
and I feel like Gaethje doesn't get tired like that, and Khabib doesn't
Not
really.
recently.
Not recently. Khabib also doesn't have knockout power like that. So what are you really gonna? The only way Khabib wins that fight to me is decision. And I feel like Gaethje will finish him off in the fourth or fifth round because he's gonna be tired. I feel like he's just gonna start cracking him with some heavy shots and kind of wear him down and finish him off.
I'm surprised you agree with me on that
I've
one.
been saying I think it TKO fourth, fifth, late TKO. I'm taking.
I am right there with you. Have you been gambling at all?
No, I mess with like DraftKings and stuff sometimes, but I did the millionaire contest today. I didn't win. I got to check, man. I might have cashed. Why
Hey,
you doing bets? I haven't done real bets in
yes.
a long,
I
long
gamble
time.
on MMA, but that's it.
I
No
do the
football.
DraftKings MMA sometimes. It's the same thing, I guess. You build a
Yeah, I
lineup.
don't do any football. I think football is too impossible to bet on, especially at the NFL level. I think college football, if you're going to bet, okay. But I mean, NFL, you've always been good at it, man. I have no fucking
You
idea how
gotta
you do that.
you gotta be into it. Like that's why I wouldn't ever do it on a whim. Like if you're
Still,
Yeah, but if you're gonna gamble, you got to be like tapped into what's going on. You know what I mean? You got to be like reading articles all the time, reading updates, watching a lot of games. Like you have to really be tapped into that world if you're gonna be even somewhat successful at figuring any of that's fantasy too. Like I'm not even doing my fantasy league this year because that it's too much of a commitment, or you're just donating to people.
yeah.
If you're not reading like the waiver wires every week and seeing who's injured and who got twisted an ankle in practice, and you know what I mean, like you'll never compete.
Dude, you know what? I'll say this. Fuck football. I think it's the dumbest sport. I think it's the stupidest shit that we've ever done.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
football, but I'm not into it right now.
No, I think it's dumb. I think so you
No.
can never tell who the fuck is doing anything, right? You can't tell if anyone's good.
Right,
Is
right.
the quarterback good? Does he have a good O line? Not good O line? Is he good? Are receivers good? Running back good? You can't tell if anyone is fucking good in the whole league.
Well, the
They could
game's
be
won
the
in the
worst team.
trenches, like they
They
say.
could be the worst team in the league one year and they
Right.
win it. I
Yes.
don't like it. I don't like it. I like when talent wins. I like one-on-one sports.
How
I
about
don't like
speaking
football.
of, you see Tyson lately? Did you see his last
Yes.
interview?
Yes. Okay.
You
So
saw the ego came back? You saw the last interview was so good, bro.
the ego came back, but so I think Tyson is smarter actually than people let on. I
Oh,
mean,
bro,
he
I was
sounds
just talking to
punchy.
someone about this. Listen, he's there's a thing called emotional IQ, and I loved it when he said emotional IQ verbatim because I've been preaching emotional IQ for 50 years. Not that I'm 50
There's
years old.
different kinds of intelligence.
People with emotional IQ, it's a bigger leader to success because you understand. You don't have to be articulate. You don't have to understand science and math and shit. That guy reads books like a maniac, by the way, too, and philosophers and conquerors. But
Mushroom guy
he's all about introspection and
loves
understanding his own
cocaine.
mind and understanding what makes people tick. No, he's a super introspective. intelligent person, bro. He's one of the most unique people on the planet. But the way he looks at 50 something, it just shows you with the not that he could pass a
Times are
USADA test, but
changing.
he says that he works
The
with like the most cutting
anti-aging.
edge anti-aging people in the country or whatever, and I believe it. But yeah, but whenever that's the thing. If you hear people say, he says that first video he posted kind of as a joke where he was hitting the bag or whatever, hitting the pads like almost a year ago. He's like, I was laid up with my sciatica pain for like a week after that or whatever, right? But then you saw he started taking all the stuff and doing whatever. People that say
That's all it is.
right, but that's what I mean. People that say that stuff should be banned from competition or that it's bad for you. How could something be bad for you if at 53 years old he can look and move like that? Look at the way he's moving now and the way
He
he's
looks amazing.
so that
Let
stuff
me
has
tell
to be
you.
good for you.
Oh, it's good for you. There is no question. I
Right.
don't know what I mean. I think it comes back to the same thing. Like it's almost like a morality or religious argument. Like you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be able to modify your body. You shouldn't be able to, keep your youth.
Yeah.
But look at all these chicks in Hollywood and Beverly Hills. Like I watch Beverly Hills Housewives and New York Housewives, all this shit. My chick watches
You are
that. I watch
definitely
them all. Yeah,
girlfriended up. I've seen them all myself. I'm not gonna
watch
lie.
them all. I watch all this shit and I love it. Don't give a fuck. It's
Right.
great. But
It's all,
these women look phenomenal. I mean, you're talking about 60-year-old women in Beverly Hills, California,
yeah.
looking like gorgeous women, classy. I'm like,
They're in
why,
shape
why,
for the race.
why would any of this shit be illegal? And I get it a little bit in competition because it's like
Competition, it gets
the
tricky.
playing field, right?
It gets tricky.
It was like the TRT exemption in MMA where they're letting Dan Henderson
But
and
it's getting
Shogun
so far
Juice,
beyond that, man. You start getting into
yeah,
genetic engineering and stuff, like where are you going to draw the line?
CRISPR.
Well, and then the problem you will encounter is going to be this. When it gets too good, if you're a football player and you say to a football player, you can't do this genetic modification, but everyone else can. So now we're all going to be way healthier, longer living specimens than
We
a guy in
look
the.
better than the NFL players.
You're going to have to let everybody start doing it.
You're
Once,
gonna have 53-year-old guys on a fucking yacht that's just trying to slam an Instagram hoe that looks better than Mike Tyson at
yes,
53
he's
because
going
he's
to
on
look
all
20.
the gear.
You're not even going to have to be on shit. You're going to have like your own 25-year-old genes. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, your 25-year-old genes probably aren't the same as Mike
Mike
Tyson's
Tyson. But you get
25-year-old
what I'm
genes.
saying. If
But
I felt just feeling that
maybe
energy
if
and
you could
health,
get Mike Tyson's genes into your body, maybe you would
you
be
know what I'm
doing them.
saying, dude. It's going to
Yeah.
get to a point where you're not going to be able to put the bottle on anymore. And when you see Mike Tyson, the way he's moving around, you go like, it's starting to get close, man,
He
because
looks amazing.
he really looks incredible. He looks as good as he used to when he was fighting.
As good as he looked,
If Roy
right?
Jones thinks, by the way, Roy Jones never really had knockout power for someone
By
like
the way,
Tyson.
Roy Jones is just chilling, drinking, and sniffing
Not
cocaine and
only
banging
that,
prostitutes.
and he had a glass jaw 5, 10 years ago when he tried to come back the first
Oh,
time.
against Tarver.
If Roy thinks Tyson's not going to be swinging in this amateur match,
Here's the only
I
thing,
mean, he's
though.
going to get his
Roy
head taken
Jones,
off.
he's been active. That's the only
He
thing.
has been way
He's
more
been
active.
fighting. He's
Yes,
been fighting in Russia. He's been fighting guys that are active in like real fights. And here's the weird thing, though. This fight got listed as a fucking
exhibition.
exhibition.
Yeah,
Why?
that's what I'm saying. Well, so they won't test him. That's why.
Well, in boxing, I know if it's listed as an exhibition, they have headgear on.
Usually they do, but it's up to them.
They're not gonna fucking have
I don't
headgear
think they
on,
have
are they?
headgear. No, they can decide if you the way that he was explaining. If you do an exhibition, you can make any rules. So they decided to do 8 rounds. It's longer than 8 rounds is a real fight.
Yeah, no
So
shit.
they're doing it. This is no
12
joke,
rounds is a real fight.
right? But I don't think they're doing headgear. I don't think they're doing any of that. The main reason was so that they didn't have to qualify. Look, Tyson couldn't pass.
No one's passing anything in that fight.
You had to make it
Joe
an
Jones is
exhibition.
on opiates. Mike Tyson's on cocaine
Yeah.
again. It's
No, Tyson's not
on,
on
baby.
coke. He's just doing. He's on.
Oh yeah, he is. I can't wait to see it. I hope he snips a
He's
fat line right before the fight.
he is on a lot of banned substances. That's for sure.
I can't wait to see it.
And I'm sure Roy is juicing a little bit. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, he juiced to fight Ruiz, right? He went up to heavyweight from cruiserweight. He was fighting 175,
Yeah,
185,
he got.
came up to 220,
Yeah.
shredded, jacked. Never the same after that, after he had to cut. He cut down, fought Tarver, got smoked,
No,
fought someone else. I mean, he was just fighting bums and got
he
just absolutely beat.
he never. Some guys aren't meant to carry all that kind of weight. Tyson, though, too. Always at his best was what, 205, 208,
No, he was probably a
212.
little heavier. I think he was 212,
Late in his career,
215.
he fought pretty light though. Early in his
Yeah,
career,
218 was like his heaviest weight when he was great.
he's small, heavy. I don't know, man.
Small heavy,
I
but
can't
just
wait.
uh just uh
I hope he takes Roy's head off. I hope he just comes out like not even pretending it's an
I do
exhibition.
too. Here's the thing though, I don't know, I mean, I don't know his financial situation, but I do know
Who,
he
Mike?
uh yeah,
He's
he's
good
trying to
now.
start a retired athlete league, right? He wants to like put on events like John McEnroe versus Serena, kind of
Smart
like the
dude.
Billie Jean King shit.
I like
You
it.
know, put Charles Oakley. It was kind of like the pros versus
Pros versus
Joes
Joes,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, you remember that?
Of
But like
course.
with famous people, I think that would be great, man. That's a great look.
Smart.
And I think who I
It's kind of
think
what him and
opened the
Roy are
door for
doing.
that. Yeah, the that's what's trying to set it off. But I
Yeah.
think what started that was that Big Three league, that Ice Cube
Mm-hmm.
shit with
I
the
saw that.
NBA guys.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. I love that. I love watching Stack play and
Yeah.
Chauncey Billups and fucking Al Harrington.
Was
Yo,
it
Al
Gilbert
Harrington would
Arenas
still,
was in
yeah,
there at the
Gilbert Arenas would still bust someone's ass in the
he's
NBA today for eight
he's
minutes.
probably only like 36 or something. He's not that old. He could for sure still play.
Guarantee.
Well,
You put
he had
fucking
that
whatever
gun issue
Marcus
or something.
Smart on him.
Dude,
Gilbert Arenas is still fucking hibachi, my
funniest
man.
thing I ever saw was Alonzo Mourning on Pros versus Joes. Did you ever see that one? They're
No,
playing.
I saw Oakley on there though.
Wait, Zoe's playing these dudes 3-on-3. These like white chubby kids, and they're decent. They get like decent dudes that play like college, junior
Right.
college ball or something. And this dude's hacking the shit out of Zoe, and Zoe's getting mad, and he says to
Yo,
the
he gets mad.
and Zoe says to the ref, he goes, if you let that go again, I'm gonna hit you or whatever. The dude fouls Zoe again. Zoe snatches the dude up in a rear naked from behind. And he was not playing around. And the dude was kind of trying to giggle it off like, oh, we're all playing around. Zoe
Yeah,
was not playing
okay.
around. And he was lifting him with the choke. Like they had to like pull him off. Like,
Yo,
yeah,
Alonzo's
there's
fucking
no,
bicep to the back is bigger than my torso.
no,
So go ahead and get choked up by Alonzo
he
Mourning.
snatched him up from behind. Yeah, he wasn't playing out there. There's no game show for Zoe, man. He's just
No,
one
Zoe is
mode.
no joke, man.
That's why I was saying like sports competition, it used to be like and those old school guys is so hardcore. They were booing. I don't know if you saw, they booed the other day. The NFL guys all embraced before the game. The
I
Chiefs
did see
and
that.
it was like
KC in Texas.
Casey in Texas. So it's all over the news, and everyone on the left saying it just proves everyone's racist because they booed, and everyone on the right saying it just proves they see through this bullshit or whatever. And I was thinking it's neither of those things. It's old school.
What are they doing?
Old school football fans, they want to see you hit the other team in the mouth. If you're a Chiefs fan, you hate the Texans. You don't want to see these guys holding hands before the game, singing "Kumbaya," even if it is a movement you agree with. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
they were giving NBA guys a hard time years ago just for shaking hands before games. Like imagine Zoe shaking hands and hugging on a teammate before. Do it after the game, maybe. But like before
Yeah.
the game, all
Like
this
with
like
the
it's like,
Heat and
bro,
the Knicks.
if you're like a Redskins fan, you're like, we want to kill the Cowboys. You want to knock somebody out. Like, let's not hug each other before the game.
Yeah, I
And then
hear you. I
I
think
think
that's a
that's why
little bit of
people,
naivety Like
No, but
if you
that's why
look,
people are booing. Those the guys that go to stadiums to watch the games and drink their beer. Like those, they've been going since the 70s, man. They're there to see some blood. They don't want you hugging it up.
I get that, but those guys are dumb because what you're really looking at is a whole fucking stadium full of suckers that are paying their fucking $80 for their ticket and then their $15 for a beer to sit down and watch a bunch of millionaire talented athletes play and think they have a say. So at the beginning of the game, Deshaun Watson walks up to fucking what's the homie's name on KC?
Yeah,
He's the best ever.
he's not the best ever.
Mahomes.
Pat
Yeah, he's the
Mahomes,
best
he is.
ever.
Get out of here.
He's the best ever by a
The
lot.
best quarterback ever. You're already naming
Best
Mahomes.
quarterback ever
You're
by a lot.
crowning Mahomes better than Tom Brady. He's the best QB to
Yes.
ever play.
Oh yeah. If you went to uh a middle school playground and Tom Brady and
Take a Michael
Patrick
Vick.
Mahomes
Take a Michael
were,
Vick.
yeah, well, yeah, me too. I'm a big Vic
Even
guy too.
Mahomes can't
But if
move like Vic.
Mahomes is better than Vic. Are you
Mahomes doesn't
kidding me?
have the arm strength Vic had. He doesn't.
Yes, he does.
Vic could throw that thing 90 yards on a rope, and he was
Oh, so
faster.
can
And he was
Mahomes. You're
faster.
crazy.
He's more
No,
polished. He's more
I think
polished.
Mahomes is probably the best now, and then it's probably Aaron Rodgers, and then like fucking Brady or Peyton Manning or something,
Tom Brady has like 9 Super Bowls. What is this guy wins a Super Bowl every year?
But who cares? Like with the shit built around you. I want to see when I watch you. When I see Tom Brady play, I'm like, this is a fucking white guy.
I think quarterback's the only position you can kind of base titles on how good they are because like you said in the NFL there's so many movies.
No,
No, but I mean, let's say you're the best defensive. I'm just making an example. I'm agreeing with you. Let's say you're the best defensive tackle ever. Well, how much can you do to win a Super Bowl for your team? Like nothing.
yeah, you ain't shit.
But in
You're
the
Warren
NBA,
Sapp.
but
You get one.
in the NBA, it's everything because you got 10 guys on the floor. Wait a minute. If you're a great with you and 4 other guys, you could touch the ball you can impose your will on a basketball game so much more easily as one man. It's why the all-time greats, most of them have won champion. You can't disagree. If you're a corner in the NFL, what can you fucking do? But if I'm a guard, if I'm Michael
I know.
Jordan
That's
on
what
the
I was saying
Bulls,
about football earlier.
just
You
give me
don't
the
know
ball.
who's good.
Right, but
Football,
Jordan, but in
basketball,
basketball,
you
you
know who's
can't
good.
hide. You can't hide in basketball. Give Jordan the
You, you,
ball. Let him go to work. Give him 6
oh
championships.
man. Oh, this reminds me of our old
I'm not
Kobe,
saying who's better.
LeBron,
I'm just
Jordan.
saying, no, you can impose your will in an NBA game the way you cannot
So
do in other sports.
who's the best to you today in the NBA?
The best current player right now,
Yeah.
I really don't like him.
I know you're trying to think of anyone but LeBron right now.
No, I mean, the Lakers are my squad. I was going to say, I really don't like.
So I think it's KD.
I was going to say KD, and I'm not a KD fan either. I'm not a KD fan either, but he's got.
I'm not either, but I do
some
think he
holes.
is the best. I think Mahomes is the best. I think KD is the best. I think it's not even fucking close.
As a career, I'd give Bron an edge over KD because of what he's accomplished, and he's obviously had some more time and he's done more, and his stats are. But if like you just
Who cares about that?
No, but you're saying like who's better today? Like if you threw him out on the court,
who's better?
Yeah.
I don't care about accomplishments. I don't care about rings.
Wow.
That was always my argument with like LeBron or let's say even Kobe and Michael, right? I just felt Kobe was a fucking better player, period. I don't care about rings. I don't care about whatever. I felt like Kobe was a better player. And then I felt the same about LeBron versus Kobe, which is
they're such different players, though.
Who would you rather had?
Kobe. They're such different players. Like no, really, the Kobe Michael one's easy to compare because they're so similar. They're the
You'd
same.
rather have Kobe over LeBron.
Let me finish. Kobe Michael, same size, same position, same everything. Kobe had a better 3-ball. It kind of gives him the edge. And you look at so many games where they had to come back from high, like he just come down cranking those threes. Jordan never really had that.
Different leagues, also.
As far as Bron, look, to me, Bron is a point forward. You know what I mean? To compare him to anyone, I don't compare him to Michael and Kobe and those guys. I compare him to like Magic Johnson and Grant Hill and those kind of guys. It's not the same position. It's not.
Uh,
I put him more. I'd rank him more with the point guards. But if you're saying like who do I want just to win a game, Kobe was such an the
you're just
mental.
taking Kobe over everyone. I'm not mad at that
MJ and
because I
Kobe to
like
me are
Kobe
one A
too.
and 1A and 1-2, however you want to slice it up. My whole thing with Kobe and MJ is that killer, the natural killer mentality. Or yeah, I get LeBron's evolved and he's matured and now he does take his teammates under his, well, whatever. Kobe and Michael were trying to rip your heart out when they were 3. Like they just wanted to destroy you, and it was a different type of competitiveness, and they were just LeBron's just naturally softer, in my opinion.
Oh God, you've
He is.
always been on that, man.
He's a
So,
naturally soft. He's had to learn how to like.
oh,
He's had to learn how to have that killer instinct and kind of try to like manufacture it. And he's not as smart as those guys. He doesn't.
oh, he's a better passer.
I
He's a
get that
better
I get
floor
that
general.
he sees the floor really well. I'm not saying that he's an amazing passer. I don't think he had, Jordan and Kobe understood the game at such a high level. I don't know. I've heard him in a million
Oh man,
interviews breaking shit
what a
down.
dorky argument we're having right now. Imagine arguing about Kobe, LeBron, and Michael.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
it's good podcast fodder. All right, well back to fights then. Have you watched any fights? I've been slacking big time. I've seen a few. I
watch
saw
all the
Did you
fights.
see like because Des knows him a little or whatever. Hector Lombard he's fighting that bare knuckle
PFL,
championships. Yeah,
yeah,
he just knocked out Kendall Grove
who
bare
was also
knuckle.
a UFC guy.
Talk about bringing retired people back to fight each other or whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I always run into MMA guys, whether I was down in Florida or out here. I just always seem to be around an MMA hub, and uh, yeah, I think there's some really
There's a
good
ton
fights
down
coming
there.
up next weekend. There's Kobe Covington and Tyron Woodley,
That's a
which is a
good.
great fight.
He's such a
There's
character, man.
yeah, I like Kobe a lot.
He's the new Chael.
Yeah, he is. He is in a way. I know he gets flack for that, just trying to be divisive, but there's something to be said, just like you're saying, for emotional intelligence and how you can create two teams and two sides
Market
and be like, yo,
yourself.
have at it. Everyone's gonna buy the fucking fight.
You know
I
what?
think that's the bottom line.
When Kobe retires in 5 years and he's got 20 million more than other dudes that were even more successful because he was smart enough to put a shtick together and
I mean, it's Nick and Nate Diaz, right? It's
of
Jorge Masvidal. These are
course,
guys that have major commercial appeal in how to get people to tune in, but uh, maybe not, championship level
right?
uh,
It matters more.
credentials.
Nate
Yeah, and
Diaz,
who cares? Because I would rather watch Nate or Nick or
yeah,
George fight than a lot of guys that that are more accomplished. I think they understand a certain showmanship in a fight and like what people are looking for. What do people think is a real tough guy,
look
right?
at Demetrius
A real tough
Johnson.
guy is a guy that doesn't take a step back, that is always trying to finish the fight, that never gives up, never trying to win on points. That BMF belt, I think that was a real uh, unintentionally smart move by Dana because I think all fans in our minds, we all had a BMF,
Right.
right? I grew up as a fan of fighting, and Mike Tyson was my BMF, and Nick Diaz is my BMF,
Yeah.
and these guys where I was like, that's how you fight,
I still think Nate.
that's how you fight, and that kind of just stuck with me, and I would like to see him continue the lineage of the BMF and try to make more fights, whether it's between classes or whatever. If you
Yeah.
want to put Paulo Borrachino in there for the fight, that's a bad motherfucker, yeah.
Yeah.
And if the BMF gets taken to 185, great. That's where it stays until someone from 170 or 285 can take it back. Dominic Reyes or John Jones is a bad motherfucker too.
Yeah.
So
Well, plus
I would love to see some stuff like that. Super fights.
if you're, it's even more important if you're a killer too, because like no
Mike
one,
Perry.
right? But nobody with a name wants to fight a killer without a name. That's the last
Right.
fight they want. Like they want to either fight a bum with no name or a killer with a huge name. But a killer without a name, no one wants to fight that guy. So you really have to market yourself. If you're going to be a dangerous young fighter, no one's going to want to fucking sign a fight with you.
You have to market yourself as a bad motherfucker.
You
I
have
mean,
to.
you gotta fight like
You
it.
got
You
to
gotta
have
fight like a
something else
Robbie
going
Lawler.
on. The only boring fighter I ever loved watching, because he was such a technician, I was a big George fan.
George.
But look at, I was bringing up Demetrius Johnson or whatever. Like no one knows that guy. He's arguably like one of the top 3 fighters ever.
Yeah,
But
I would agree.
he's just boring and nice and doesn't
Yeah,
have.
he's a dork. I mean, I think I mean,
You
Izzy
can't be, but
Adesanyo's.
like look at what that guy probably is made or gets paid. Like it's such a fraction of what,
It's
like,
not great.
and Nate Diaz has lost probably what 12 fights or something, and he could sign tomorrow, make millions against 10 different
I mean,
guys.
I think they just signed him to fight George, and they're both getting pay-per-view points. Which
Wait,
I don't know if you know this, but on the last pay-per-view for the UFC, uh, Masvidal was originally slated to fight Usman, who's
yes,
probably, as good as
yeah, he got
anyone has
hurt or
ever
broke his
been.
hand or something.
No, he actually was a contract negotiation. That
Didn't he
was
break
the
his hand or
initial
something?
move. Not Masvidal.
No, Usman I thought broke something, like a
Not
broken
not to
wrist or
my
some shit.
knowledge. From my understanding, Masvidal didn't sign because the money wasn't right. So what he was arguing was pay-per-view points, which is the contention of a lot of UFC fighters,
Yeah,
where
that's where all the
really
money is.
that's where the money is. And pay-per-views are not as big as they've been, but when you take an account, let's say Masvidal, he moves the fucking needle, right? So
Yeah.
they booked Gilbert Burns to fight Usman for that title fight, and then Burns tested positive for COVID.
Okay.
So they started scrambling,
I
and
remember everybody was complaining that it was a wasted fight anyway to even.
which is crazy because Burns,
But that's a
I'm
good
telling you
example
right
of a.
now, could beat both of those
But that's a
guys.
perfect example of a dangerous dude that no one's ever heard of.
No one knows Gil Burns,
That's
right? Most dangerous dude, probably the best dude above Usman and Masvidal. No one
right,
knows who the fuck he is, and they wouldn't know unless he takes one of those guys out.
right. And then
So
even
he took
still,
out,
you got to be an
and
exciting
then even
person,
still, right? Like Weidman beating Silva.
right,
I knew before that Anderson Silva fight, I was like, there's no fucking way he's beating Chris
right.
Weidman. And everyone watches it and they're surprised.
Well, especially
It's
after Chael dominated him for four and a
right.
half rounds.
You
It's
see a
like,
wrestler just beat his ass, a more
right,
physical, bigger, stronger guy. I mean, it was a bad matchup,
right,
right? Weidman had his formula from before they even stepped in the ring. So I just think, it comes to the same thing for like Burns. He's not a draw.
right,
Like, and between the three of them, Masvidal is the guy that people want to fight with. Who's calling a fight with
right.
him? Nate, Nick, Connor. They all want the fucking money,
Of
and
course,
you're not
huge
going to get the
payday. Of
money going in and getting your ass chewed in a meat grinder against
course,
Usman, pinning you against a
right.
cage for 5 rounds, when you could go and fight George or Nate or
Well,
Nick and put on an entertaining show and put on a tough guy fight.
we were talking about Hector when he came in. I remember when he came to the UFC from Bellator, nobody would fight him because he
No,
wasn't a big name, and he's gonna dump you on your head with judo, and every punch he's swinging for the fence. Like nobody wanted to fight that dude. It was like a no-win situation. You're gonna get cracked really
oh, he's
hard,
an animal. I mean, he's
even
about
if you win.
5'6" at 185 pounds, fighting guys that are 6'2" and 6'3",
Yeah.
and he's just like a coiled
It's
fucking
similar to
commercial spring.
Tyson style, that
Very
coiled
similar.
100%. He always reminded me of that coiling in every punch with the bad intentions, but that judo, once a
Yeah.
fight, he would dump you on your head.
Amazing, man. He was like Romero before Romero.
Yeah, he's an animal. Now still,
Yeah,
Yoel.
still.
Yeah. I feel
Yeah,
like
he had that awful fight, awful fight with Izzy Adesanya though.
Well,
Um,
he's a
I think that's a problem that the UFC has run into in the past is finding like two really good strikers that will get in a fight, but they're both counter strikers.
right.
I think that's the miss that they've done a couple of times. If you're going to put Izzy
Yeah.
Adesanya with Yoel Romero, it's a lot of backing up, man. If you put Damian Maya with Anderson
Who
Silva
did
or
Anderson Silva fight where like three strikes were thrown the whole fight? Years and years ago. There was one fight where like
There was several. Talis Latis, Damian
yeah,
Maya.
there was one where
I
like
mean, he
nobody
has
landed.
those.
Yeah.
Right, because he needs you need to have if you're gonna do stand up styles as far as clashes, you have to have someone that's an aggressor and someone that's a counter striker or two aggressors. If you have
Right.
two counter strikers, man,
It's
you're not
bad.
gonna make a lot of money in your main event.
Yeah. No, you need the styles to make the fights for sure. I feel like Nate, he's a fave, man. He's one of those dudes, like, he really can beat anybody on the right day. And he's so hard to finish. Like, all these fights, that's not even the first stoppage I don't think he's had. Because, they get cut so easy and everything,
Oh yeah.
but like, if Nick and Nate, I hate that they always group them together. I hate that Mike Goldberg, when you watch like a Nate fight, every comment is, Nate and his brother, every comment's him and his brother. It's never just about Nate.
Dating yourself,
Nick and
man.
Nate,
Goldberg hasn't commentated in a long
you know what
time,
I'm
bro.
saying. But everyone groups them together regardless. But if you said take a guy in the street and just fight until neither guy is willing to move anymore, there's not many guys I'm picking over Nate or Nick, because even with that
But
cut,
anyway,
like, if you just said there's no time limit on this fight with Masvidal, you guys go in there till one of you can't come out. I'm not picking against him. You know what I mean?
I still got
Tear
Masvidal in
his
that
face.
one.
He's gonna
He's
wear
too big
down.
and strong. I think that's a tough matchup for Nate.
I think
He felt
Nate
like he
having
was coming
fought.
on.
Yeah, but Nate does have more polished stand up in boxing, and he obviously does have better grapple. I feel like he gets in these rhythms with guys sometimes where he's really just kind of naturally rolling with the punches, and he's such a unorthodox boxer. I don't
He
know.
gets hit.
He gets it. I could see him being a little scrappier, mixing it up, landing more combo. I don't know. I'm always pulling for Nate. I do like Masvidal
I am
though, but
too. I am too. I'm a
I can't
hardcore
hate George.
Nick and Nate Diaz fan and George. I love George too, and I love Masvidal. I like seeing all these guys. What I like to see is like guys performing their best to make the most money. I'm almost on the fighter's side as opposed to
Yes.
anything else because I know what they go through, and it's really
And it's such a
tough
short career.
situation to really you know, put the wraps on your hand and support your family by going in there and fighting another guy that trained to fight you. You're
And they got to pay their trainers and their coaches and their massage guy and their gym and everything else. They don't end up with much left. And if they're lucky, they get a few fights. Then they basically retire in their 30s if they're lucky.
if you're lucky,
And then they don't have, like, they need to then live off that. But
and then you
it's,
got brain damage too.
and no other skill. Well, they still say most of, I guess, because the wrestling aspect, they do say I think the majority of UFC guys are like college graduates and have degrees and shit.
I don't know about that.
Probably not anymore, but I remember a while ago they gave the stat, it was like 60 something percent, but I think it is because of all the collegiate wrestlers that had come in.
It's the
It's
wrestlers.
still a
Yeah,
huge
for
chunk.
sure. Yeah,
Probably 30, a good third of the league's probably guys that came up through college wrestling system. So they're going to mostly have, degrees and other stuff they can maybe at least do when they're done. Like, all right, at least I have this, finance fucking degree or whatever.
yeah, exactly. Like Shane Carwin or something. He went to
Yeah,
like
he was a
the
teacher, wasn't
Colorado
he?
School of Mines. He's an engineer.
Right.
Came in there, smoked Brock Lesnar, Frank Mir, laughed all the way to the bank, and then was like, I'm good. I'm getting hit in the face.
I was thinking of what's his name? Who's the dude? Shit. Who's the guy that fought Anderson Silva like 3 times? It was always getting smoked. The white dude.
Rich Franklin.
Rich Franklin. He was the high school teacher, the science teacher or
He
something.
was a substitute teacher, yes.
Something like that. I like that you knew Franklin off the bat. Man, during that time, he would have been the best. He smoked
He
everybody,
was the best
everyone but
until Silva
Silva.
came. Yeah.
Silva was
That
kind
happens
of
though.
like,
It's like DC. Like, if John Jones never
yes,
existed, Daniel Cormier might be the best light heavyweight fighter to ever strap him on at
yeah,
205.
no one else could beat him.
You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys like that. I feel like Silva though was like kind of protected in an era where, like you said, man, if he had to really face these discipline, like at any time in Anderson Silva's career, GSP would have beaten him
Yeah,
because it's a guy that just would have. I'm not standing with you.
I agree.
I'm just gonna crawl on you, and I'm gonna
You're
and
getting single legged. I'm
Chael
getting on
Chael
top,
showed the
and I'm beating you
blueprint,
up.
and
Chael did it.
he gave it up at the end. It was just a complete brain lapse. I don't know what the hell he was thinking,
Yeah, Chael beat the shit out of
but
him
you
for
look at
5 rounds, and
Anderson's
everyone was like,
career.
"Ah, he's done."
But Silva's career was always against guys that wanted to strike. It was never against someone who's going to be like a dedicated wrestler, and he did that
And
for
even if it
years.
was a wrestler, he had a hard time. Travis Luter,
Right,
he was. I mean, he had a hard time with the
right,
guys that did that.
exactly.
But man, he was a fucking sniper, though.
Amazing. The most insane. Well, that other dude now, the who you're talking about, Stylebender or whatever,
Adesanya,
he's doing the same shit, crazier shit.
woo!
But that's why I have a hard time when people put Silva at the top of the list. Like, I get what he did, and he was a pioneer, but just
It's
skill
GSP for
wise,
me.
dude. And that's with that Sarah blemish. If you take that Sarah fluky ass blemish off in the middle of his career, and he just came back and stomped him. And Sarah's a tough dude, but if you take that
Yeah,
away, then you're talking like what, a 9-year stretch or something, like where he didn't even lose a round.
yeah, he's. I mean,
Such a
Sanderson Silva.
technician. But
What you're not gonna catch?
Everyone says Jon Jones though.
Yeah, John Jones is. He's for me. It's GSP number one because there's never been any of the allegations against George that there has been against John as far as performance enhancers.
Right.
I don't know. George might have been juicing too, but
Could have been.
uh,
Coming
that's
off
the
some of
only
those
thing.
injuries for sure. Tearing
Yeah,
ACLs and shit like that.
it's the only thing that keeps me from putting John at the top of the list is those all the
Bones, man.
steroids and shit.
All the steroids, all the arrests, all those like I never understood this. Bro, I will never understand with celebrities that are always getting like busted in public with coke and shit. I never got it. Like if you're a multi-gazillionaire, don't people bring you shit? Can't you hang out in your mansion and snort all the coke you want? Do you have to be out at 3 a.m. barefoot picking up fucking Burger King? Like I
Well, I mean, as a person that likes cocaine, I'll tell
do
you,
you for real? You keep saying that on here. You want me to edit it out?
no, I don't want you
Your
to.
parents
This is
can
a known fact.
okay,
Cocaine
okay.
is great. I think
Okay.
more people should use it. But what I do find on it is that I do have a God complex. I feel I am John Jones. So when
Right,
John
right,
Jones does cocaine, I don't know who he feels like. Maybe
right.
Rick James, maybe Prince. But if you do cocaine and you're John Jones, I mean, imagine being that light heavyweight champ, high, you know, rated top of the world, and then you're
Right,
sniffing
right.
some blow. What do you think you're going to think about yourself?
For sure. I just feel like he should have a little more recognition of like in his clear moments, of hey, I could be the best ever if I just keep my shit together for a minute.
Probably is.
And in 5 years, yeah, but he could have just been like, man, in 5 years I can just retire with hundreds of millions of dollars and do
He already
all
has it.
fine, but I could go down as the GOAT and then the rest of my life I could do blowing hookers. Like I have to do it now while I'm fighting. It's
Maybe he doesn't care. Who cares,
He might
right?
not care.
Like
Look,
it doesn't
Mike,
matter
we're
for
talking about
him.
Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, I never, ever, ever would have thought if you asked me in the 90s that he wouldn't be dead or in prison. You talk about a guy that really just kind of turned his whole perspective. No one was more reckless than that dude.
No,
And he's still great, but he's not reckless anymore. He was talking about discipline on that show, and he was saying, like, if you don't have
they're all
discipline,
disciplined.
you ain't shit.
You ain't
If
shit.
you're
You
getting
ain't shit.
if you're getting
You ain't
arrested
John
if
Jones
you're
if you're
getting
not
arrested
disciplined.
for DUIs every 3 months, you're not that disciplined a person.
If you don't think John Jones is disciplined, you're
He's
crazy.
disciplined when he
How
wants to
can you
be.
beat? go and look at the line of
He's
guys
even
he
said
beat.
he barely trained for some of those fights. He's
For
first.
Gustafson, who
Listen,
the fuck would have whoever heard of
okay.
Gustafson?
First of all, I'm not saying he's not disciplined when he wants to be in a camp and stuff like that. Just in his life, he's not that disciplined. And I don't think he's anywhere close to the most disciplined gym. He's never been known as a gym rat or anything of the sort. He's the most
Yeah,
talented dude.
yeah,
He
yeah.
gets away
He's
with
the
a lot
most
of that
talented dude.
shit.
I don't know. I like that. I like guys like that. I like a guy that'll come in off of a fucking
Connor.
bar stool,
Connor just
came
shows
in,
up
yeah,
late, hammered from the
come
night
in,
before, whoop
hammered,
someone's ass.
come in, no training camp, smoke this idiot that just spent his last fucking 12 weeks eating kale and fucking spinach or whatever, and just come in and kick him in the face and have a nice day. I'm counting my 10 mil.
You can do it against bums, man. Tyson found out when he stopped training hard. You can't. There's only so much of that you can do, man.
Unless you're Jon Jones.
I guess, man. I'd love to see, man. He really, really, really needs to just not cut weight and fight at heavy and there's so many
That's
fun.
what he's doing.
There's just so many fun fights. Like he should have done it 5 years ago. He cleared out light
Yeah.
heavyweight 5 years ago. You could have given him all these cool fights, dudes who were
Well,
240.
one
Just
thing he's never been is actually a good pay-per-view seller, right? So he's just not someone for whatever reason that people tune in to watch. And I think that's part of it is
interesting.
not like being able to feel uh the momentum like Connor does, right? Like he accomplishes something and before it gets
That's what I'm
stale,
saying.
he's on to the next move. He's like, okay, just smoked uh Jose Aldo. My next fight is Eddie Alvarez, who has the belt, who's a great matchup for me. No one
Right.
knows it. No one even knows I'm in line for that belt, but here I come. And Jon Jones kind of never sees that opportunity when, like, Stipe won the belt. He should have been like, I'll beat fucking Stipe
Right.
sleepwalking,
No,
which he
John
would.
John has no, that's what I'm saying. He has no self-perception of like who he is or what spot he's in or whatever. You could say he doesn't care. I guarantee you he's going to care when he looks
Yeah, he's
back in
like your
20
boy
years.
Trump. He's just like a narcissist, only sees himself, and he doesn't know how to put himself in the position where he's like there's two sides, right? It's that same thing where you're creating two teams. Like, can Jon Jones win at heavyweight? Yes or no? He just never
He can beat
took
90.
that step.
He can beat 90% of the dudes at heavyweight, but maybe he doesn't care. I would care. Most people would care when they look back that they fucked up their life. Like he could have been the hands down GOAT, uncontested, no questions asked, if he'd have just kept it together
But
a little bit.
who cares if you got $60 million in your bank account and your family is fed?
Well, he would
That's
have
what I
had.
would say I would care about.
He'd have been yeah, but he'd have been he first of all he'd be 2-3 times as rich because he'd be on every commercial everywhere. He'd be on every Wheaties box and everything else. He'd be twice as rich from the endorsements, which he's not even getting because he's known as such a trouble. But also, legacy's everything, man. All these guys are rich.
Oh,
In
I
sports,
hate that.
assuming all things are equal,
Who cares?
because in sports it's all about the record books. It's all
Have
about.
you ever heard of fucking Artie? Who you know what I'm saying? Like
Well, that's my
you
point.
look back and like so who was the best
But that's my
football player in 1946? Who gives a fuck?
correct. That's my point. You can't name him, but everyone can name Jerry Rice. You know what I mean? Everyone can name Randy Moss. No, there's a handful of guys.
Uh,
There's a handful of guys in 20 years when you go, who's the best fighter ever? People are going to have the same debate we just had, whereas it could have just been people said Jon Jones, just like they say Michael Jordan.
no, anyone that's smart will say Jon Jones,
Or they'll
but
go, oh, it could be George. It could, if they want to be, they'll go, oh, maybe Demetrius Johnson, man. Why not him?
yeah, I hear
Because he's
you. I
not
mean,
exciting?
I
Because
hear
he
the
fights at
argument.
120 pounds? I mean,
Yeah, I hear you. I think there's less of an argument for Demetrius Johnson because of the weight. Even though
what?
it's probably more competitive
Yeah,
at
but
that
the
weight.
cardio, why you got to take away because he's tiny?
Well, I
It looks
agree.
cooler to see big
I
dudes.
mean, he's probably skill for skill better,
That's what
than
I
both of
mean.
those
And more
guys. But
consistent for a longer period of time.
yeah, for sure. And then ran into Cejudo, who is also a fucking monster who I miss. I wish he would come back and fight.
Even look what
But
Aldo did before he fell apart at that lightweight.
yeah,
The run Aldo went on is probably
10-year
more
run.
more impressive than Jones.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
It's a weird one.
but yeah, little dudes get no credit. Everyone always wants to see heavyweights. It's more exciting. That power. I'd
The
say
power.
I'd say middleweight light.
Heavyweights
Yeah, I'd say middleweight
kind of
light
trash.
heavyweights kind of the best because they can still move around. They still got decent cardio. Yeah, a lot of heavyweights
Yeah.
look sluggish as shit, especially
Yeah.
UFC heavyweights. Boxing heavyweights look pretty good. So a lot. They're low twos,
Some.
but the MMA heavyweights, yeah, they're all 240, 250, gassing out.
But yeah, it's hard to watch. I mean, it just depends. I like the 185. Pretty much 155 to 205 is
Yeah,
what I watch the most, and I think those guys are probably the most talented. I think right
yeah.
now the deepest talent pool is 155. I don't even think there's an
Well,
argument there.
it's because that's the common
There's more
man.
guys.
Right. And they're all cutting from like 170. So just like 170 is like, 165, 170 is probably your average man's weight in this country, or it's probably way
Yeah,
higher now. Everyone's huge,
everyone's fat.
but it's very easy for
Speaking of,
most.
what's your opinion on fat shaming?
I mean, I don't think anybody should be making fun of people for the way they look, bro. If it's
Oh, come on.
if you're talking about like from a health standpoint, everybody should be healthy.
Yeah, I know. I get picked on. I've put on some weight during this whole COVID thing, and my girl rips on me, and it motivates me. I'm like,
I don't gain a pound, bro. You know me.
I know that's crazy,
Showing
man.
off. Dude, we got to make this a regular segment. You can come back on. We'll talk all kinds of more shit. The Jake and John segment.
I'll come back to you, my man.
Thank you, bro. Tell the girl sorry I occupied you so long. Walk the
It's
dog.
okay. I also want to congratulate you on your show. I've
Thank
always
you.
thought you were a smart guy.
Oh,
Even though I don't always agree with you, I think you're doing something cool, and I support you.
thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we've been talking about Jake and I used to have long ass phone conversations and always go, man, that should have been a podcast. Because we'd be
Yes.
stoner talking about the universe for 3 hours. So good shit, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, dude. And I'll talk to you soon. We get like I said, you come back anytime you want.
Anytime, buddy. Hit me up.